Seymour Hersh just released the fact that the United States blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. You weren't briefed on that. Why not? Are you going to put a congressional probe into that? Yes or no? Because this ain't no ordinary journalist. You know that.
So,
I want to hear what he has to say.
Nord Stream is a pipeline that transfers oil from Europe, particularly Germany. I'm sorry, from Russia to Germany. So we don't have the authority to investigate pipelines.
All right, come on. Now that's bullshit. You know that. Victoria Nuland herself says she's happy that it's a pile of metal underwater. Do you share her sentiment?
Here's what we know. The Europeans are conducting an investigation.
They investigated her.
And it is true.
Why did Joe Biden say that we are going to get rid of the Nord Stream pipeline? And when asked, but wait a minute, that's run by Gazprom in Germany, how are you going to do it? He said,
we'll be able to do it.
If you have definitive evidence.
Yeah, we do. It's called Seymour Hersh.
Then produce the evidence.
He already
produced the evidence.
Already
read the article.
Listen, this is Seymour Hersh. This is the My Lai massacre. Okay, this is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. He is not going to publish something he can't prove. So unless you're naive enough and you don't know that, I'm here to inform you. I'm at least asking for congressional inquiry into whether or not it's true, because his credibility alone should prompt that, don't you think?
The Europeans are conducting an investigation.
We know the United States did this.
It seems like you know the answer to the question, so there's no need to move.
Well, what are you going to do? I'm your constituent. I'm your constituent. I want you to actually do something about it.
I'm going to try to answer your question once more, and then I'm going to move on. The Europeans are conducting.
That's a non-answer. What are you doing? Because if the United States did this, you are going to you have to hold them accountable. This is listen, we are on the verge of a nuclear war right now. I don't think you know that, and if the people here don't know that, they should. You talk a big game about the Bronx. You talk a big game about a lot of things, but guess what? None of it's going to matter if we're all dead. Think about that for a second, right? You are leading us into a nuclear war. What's happening in Ukraine directly affects what's happening here. You don't think you're going to get us into a nuclear war? Is exactly how we get into a nuclear war. Now, as your constituent, I demand that you stop funding the Ukrainians. I understand that you're also an Israeli lobby plant. Look, how can you deny what's happening to the Palestinians, but you can defend what's going on in Ukraine? And now you're trying to erase their history. You are the biggest fraud. You think George Santos is a liar? You're the biggest fraud here.
I'll address you respectfully. My colleague, when he brought up the Seymour Hersh article, which said that the United States was responsible for the destruction of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, I'm going to be honest, it didn't seem like you knew about it, which is a concern, because Seymour Hersh, if you didn't know, this is one of the most decorated journalists in all of America.
I'm familiar with Seymour Hersh, yes.
He broke the story on
I'm familiar with the article. And if Seymour Hersh...
when someone like him is saying something like that, it has to be taken seriously. And right now, there has been absolutely no mainstream coverage of that article. And they're trying to bury it, you know? And another thing, I mean, the Bulletin of Atomic Sciences just said that we're now 90 seconds on the brink of midnight. We're the closest that we've ever been to a thermonuclear war. And listen, I get what you might think about what's going on in Ukraine. It's a tragedy. But the only way to save Ukrainian lives, to save Russian lives, to save everyone's lives is to actually push for negotiations. Because the war in Ukraine cannot be won. Over 100,000 people have died in Ukraine because we've been sending over $100 billion worth of arms over there to push a conflict that can never be won. So I'm asking you, I'm sure you have a conscience, to actually lobby in Congress to start negotiations, to stop the brink towards nuclear war. Because frankly, all these other local issues, they may be important, but the most important issue of all of humanity is stopping nuclear war. I want you to make a commitment to that, because I believe you have a conscience.
Thank you. No one wants nuclear war, so I've addressed this issue. There's no answer that I can give you that's going to satisfy you. My view is Vladimir Putin chose to invade a sovereign nation state. He has committed atrocities, crimes against humanity. We are holding him accountable.
If NATO didn't
but we are not directly.
For the past 30 years, if we actually accepted Putin's security guarantees, which he wanted, we would not be in this conflict right now. So the fact, what you're saying, Putin started it, that's a lie. NATO and the U.S. started it.
Are you willing to stop taking money from corporations? Are you willing to stop Russia's
Let him answer.
We disagree. We disagree. I think we.
On stopping nuclear war?
There's not going to be nuclear war. We are exhausting every means. We're not directly intervening. We're not directly combating Russia. We're helping. Let me finish. We're helping the Ukrainians. We're helping the Ukrainians help themselves. That's it. Right?
The only way to help is for negotiations.
If Vladimir Putin were willing to negotiate for peace, then that would be one thing.
Hold it down. Hold it down.
You're lying.
Hold it down.
So you said ethnic cleansing and genocide against the Palestinians. Let me. Can I answer your question? Okay. Can we all agree? Can we all agree?
Can we read that first?
Well, can we all? No, please, sir.
David, let her speak. She has the right to have opinion.
Can we all agree that when there's ethnic cleansing or genocide, there tends to be depopulation? Is that right? If you commit genocide against the people,
Say something about the Palestinian terrorists.
Please.
the Palestinian population in Israel has gone from somewhere in the range of 200,000 in 1948 to over 2 million in Israel and then overall it's about 14 million. And that's based on numbers that have been reported by the Palestinian Authority. So if there were genocide, there would not be a surge in the Palestinian population. There would be a systematic depopulation. This is not a debate. This is me answering your question.
I need to be able to respond to anything that I realize is wrong.
Okay. Well, you're entitled to, you and I can have a private conversation,
No,
but
we should have it here.
I want to answer your question. So you brought up Iron Dome. It is true that we fund Iron Dome technology. Iron Dome is defensive, not offensive technology.
It is defensive.
Let me finish the answer.
Let him finish, please.
Iron Dome does not attack anyone. It protects civilians from rocket fire. Right? And I will not apologize for supporting technology that protects civilians from rocket fire. That is a position that I proudly take. I want to be clear. And so I'm going to move on because I answered your question.
Next.
They called me, so give me my minute.
Jackie.
Thank you.
That's it. It's over. You have your time. We're waiting.
So I just want to say that I think you've been taking a lot of criticism tonight. You haven't run away. You've answered every question. But I really want to know, why have you given the okay to fund Ukraine with $110 billion?
We go back to Ukraine again.
Which should be helping the homeless, helping Medicare for all, doing all of those things. Why are we funding a war when that money should be at home? And we only know that 30% is actually being used in the war. We don't even know where a lot of the money is actually going to. So I just want to know, why do you feel like it's okay to $110 billion for a war instead of putting that money back home, especially in a district where it's one of the poorest districts in New York City, District 15. I'm one of your constituents. I live on Valentine Avenue, and it's one of the poorest districts in New York City. So I want to know, why do you feel like it's okay to do that, but not put the money back into?
You're going to let me answer the question? Okay. It's a fair question, and not everyone agrees. But my view is the United States, we are the wealthiest country in the world. We are the most powerful country in the world. We are the most powerful country in the world. And with power comes responsibility. And if there is a war criminal who's invading sovereign nation states and murdering civilians, we have an obligation to respond, just like when Hitler invaded sovereign nation states and systematically murdered people and committed ethnic cleansing and genocide. The world had an obligation to respond. And that's just my belief. There are some people who feel like we should mind our business, we should turn a blind eye. I don't believe that.
But the only thing is like,
How about accountability?
Raise your hand, raise your hand.
No, that is fair. That is fair. That is fair.
Why do you vote against it?
That is fair. That is fair.
Why do you vote
So
against it?
that is fair. So if the question is, should there be more oversight over how those dollars are spent, that is a completely fair point.
Well, why did you vote against it? Why didn't you vote for it?
You had to say no.
Because if I will answer. If we were to deny Ukraine aid, Ukrainian people would be slaughtered by the British.
You gotta let them. No speaking out loud. You gotta repeat this or that.
Stop it.
You know my view, so.
Let us ask a question.
Ask your question. Ask your question.
Probably.
Go ahead.